Women empowerment initiatives are transforming communities and creating opportunities for gender equality. To better understand these experiences and motivations of these young leaders in this space, an interesting conversation awaits us with our guest today. First, I'd like to start by welcoming our guest, Dr. Soror. She's going to be talking to us about everything equality and women empowerment in Algeria. Sorry. Hello, Soror. Welcome.
Hello, Sarah. Thank you so much for having me here today. I'm very happy and pleased to be part of this show.
Thank you for accepting our invitation.
You're welcome. Hopefully we can actually educate some people here or raise awareness about certain topics.
Of course. So before we start, I'd like you to start by introducing yourself to everyone who's watching us today. As I said in the beginning, the title doctor is very obvious, but today you'll be talking about everything women empowerment and, you know, equality, which is not necessarily related to medicine. So could you introduce yourself?
Great. With pleasure. Actually, my name is Soror Labiod. I am a healthcare provider, I'm a dentist, and I'm also a women's rights activist here in Algeria. I work on different thematics that include empowering youth, specifically when it comes to the women's rights concept, and I also work in different NGOs, sometimes as a consultant or just work here in Algeria on creating some workshops, hopefully to bring attention to some topics that we need to discuss about today.
That's amazing. So I'd like to start by talking about the biggest initiative that you have so far. Can you introduce us to Beyond Bias? I think from the title we can understand a little bit about the concept. Could you tell us maybe what inspired you to start this initiative?
Of course. So as you said, the title says it all. Beyond Bias is an initiative that I founded here in Algeria, which basically aims to tackle any issue that is related to bias. We started our initiative to talk about the bias in AI, since the artificial intelligence, it's the most trending topic that we can talk about now. And also not only trendy, but somehow people do not understand the usage or how AI is affecting us daily. So we created a series of workshops that will allow us or allowed us already to talk about the different biases we can find in AI, whether when it comes to race, to gender, or even just the social class of people. Yeah,
that's amazing. So could we talk about the challenges that you have faced while trying to start this initiative and to launch it and to give it a name and maybe then start working from there?
I would say the biggest challenge when it comes to creating an initiative to actually build up a network that will allow you to, spread it and share it to the society. And talking about society, the biggest challenge I would say from an advocate and an activist is the resistance that is embedded within the society. So it's very hard to just spread the ideas and face the resistance from the society. So to change the ideas of people about the topics we want to discuss is the biggest challenge for me.
Exactly, especially with a topic like women's rights and advocating for women empowerment. It could be, you know, very iffy, could be looked at a certain way. Could you tell us maybe some challenges or misconceptions that you have faced while trying to advocate for women's rights here in Algeria, and what did you do to overcome them and continue your work?
So basically, the stereotypes is the biggest challenge. I would say the stereotypes about being a women's rights advocate, it just means basically to just try and erase the male existence, right, whether when it comes to jobs or workplaces, or just trying to demolish the society structure and the house structure for people, family structure. So I would say this is the biggest thing, is the stereotypes and the idea people would have on trying to liberate and give women more freedom. So they would think you're just trying to change what the Algerian society is. However, here I would say, and I would explain it more, that advocating for women's rights, it means advocating for their right to have a choice, right, whether a woman would like to stay in their houses and be the wife, be the mom, and not go out and work, or decide to go out and have a career for herself and be more independent. So we only talk about it from the bad side, but it's only about giving women a choice. Yes.
Right. That's amazing. I think that can help with the stereotypes that are circulating about this topic. How would you define the success of your initiative? Maybe it's a certain milestone that you have reached, or maybe a case that you've helped?
I would say on the last workshop I have done with Beyond Bias, I would say the biggest success, or how I would measure it, is the fact that people were really interactive with the idea. I would say a lot of feminist collectives or women's rights collectives and associations did not know about the existence of bias in the systems and algorithms. So the idea of having people who are advocates and activists for a long time and not knowing about the existence of this bias, and actually highlighting it for them and taking the initiative from me to the other organization to work on this topic and making it on a bigger scope, because the idea and the initiative focus on only the region of Algiers,
Right.
which I wouldn't believe it's enough, especially that we already suffer from centralization for when it comes to different things. So as a start, this is the biggest milestone I've reached, is just delivering the idea to other organizations here in Algeria. The other milestone is actually being chosen among 300 applicants from different parts of the world as the only representative from the MENA region to actually go on and go forward with this project, making it international. So I'm very excited about this milestone. Maybe I will come back here and tell you more about it.
Inshallah, hopefully. I mean, we should highlight that صورة has participated in a long process to be able to get picked for this project and to get the funding. And you know, you're representing Algerian women, you're representing African women, which is something that we're all proud of. Thank you for representing us.
With pleasure.
Okay, so I think we have covered the main points that your initiative is working on, but could you tell us maybe some misconceptions about women empowerment that you have often encountered within the community that's already working in activism? As you said, a lot of people who have been activists all of their lives maybe don't see the bias in career-wise, in education matters. They just fight for the basic rights, but they do not notice the bias.
Exactly. So I would start by saying, as a basic right, we still have a long way to go.
Right.
And it's still always, as I would say, a fair battle, a battle that we always have to take. I would say when it comes to AI, since it's something really new and Algeria is not really adopting any laws or any ethics or any policies that will actually put it into the right framework. So this is when it comes the fact that it's not understood how we can tackle this issue.
Mm-hmm.
So the struggle is how are we going to overcome this bias? Is it by putting laws, changing policies, or existing policies that we're trying to update, or just like talking about it and do some awareness campaigns? So I think this is the issue on how we can go to this road and how we're gonna overcome this bias. So I would say not only they are not aware of, but the complexity of how to take in charge this topic is the problem. And given a clear path for people to start and work from, for example, for my initiative, I wanted it to start very specific, because AI is a really big field. We cannot talk about it.
You have to choose a certain domain.
No,
right?
It's impossible. For example, I would say I will just talk to the audience. It depends on the audience that I have. If they have zero knowledge or basic knowledge in AI, I would love to start by telling them about the literacy of AI. However, in my initiative, we decided to talk about the bias when it comes to the job recommender systems, which I believe would not only help the community by knowing that exists, but also help the country's economy, because it will allow people to be in certain positions where they will give more, and definitely will create more job opportunities for women, which we know that contribute a lot to the economy of Algeria. So by starting with something specific, it will allow us to go on and climb the ladder of getting into bigger scope and bigger vision of what is bias in AI.
Right, that's an amazing initiative, and I don't think it has been brought up much since we're all using AI in our daily lives. I think it's something that definitely should be discussed and talked about. So I think we should talk about now, how do you engage and inspire young women in today's world where they have the internet, they have social media, where they can collect a lot of different ideas which might not be for them specifically, but it could be a way of reaching them. How do you reach these young ladies? How do you influence them? How could you maybe correct the certain ideas that are not necessarily good for them? How do you reach them?
I would say, for me personally, I don't see myself as an influencer or someone who is a public figure. So I'm not really utilizing my social media to reach a big amount of people. The biggest or the most efficient way that I do it myself is by attending the events, whether here in Algeria or internationally, trying to create a community of friends within the Algerian community, because we need more people active, whether internationally or nationally. I would say social media are a must. We cannot just distance ourselves from that, especially with the different features we can find on Meta, just paying for ads, and then you can target the specific group you are looking for. So if you utilize it, if you're someone looking for that, it's amazing. I know a lot of people who are using it, a lot of people in my network. So I work internally, usually reach out to people I know they might be interested. I also try to help people as much as I can on my small community on Instagram, to just tell them you should apply for this opportunity if it fits you. Just try to learn from them what are they interested in. So the way I reach is just direct. I'm not really doing a lot of campaigns. When it comes to the initiatives and the workshops, we just open an application form, and again, just try.
Anyone is welcome to join.
Exactly, everyone is welcome. You don't have to be an activist to join. You can just be a simple person who wants to learn something today, and we would welcome you.
That's amazing. Open doors are very necessary when it comes to this
inclusion
sort of,
specifically.
Exactly, everyone needs to be included. In your experience, Soror, what is the most effective strategy to promote gender equality, whether it is in workplaces or in our community in general?
So I would say, since we already have a very big stereotype and certain cultural norms here in Algeria embedded within our life, daily life, our culture. So it's very, very hard to start and change this from the top. I would combine two efficient ways. The first one is stakeholders. We need to include them. They are the key when it comes to the top. And then we have the education. So if you want to invest, we need to invest in the young people coming, in the primary schools, in the middle schools and high schoolers, because I believe as people who are have more access and more patient for social media, they are the one who are going to change the norms. And also we can say that in a way the accessibility they have, we didn't have it. At least I'm talking about myself. I'm still 26 years old, but I would say the accessibility, someone who is 16 years old, is not the same. And they are open to know what is the difference between being sexist, being fair, and being equal. So for me, I don't have to explain these terms to them, at least.
The information is out there.
Exactly. They have access to information. They have access to different resources that we cannot have now. So investing in education and investing in including stakeholders within the different conferences, the different workshops, the different initiatives that civil society activists do is the key for like just trying to get away from this bias and this inequality.
So you would say focusing on the new generation is the key.
Especially that, and also I always have to tell you that stakeholders and always being included in changing policies or creating new policies is the key.
That's amazing. So how would you balance your need for this systematic change, since you said that the major players need to be involved to be able to change some things? How would you say we can balance the systematic change and helping individual women each in their field?
So you want to say how we can personalize the change based on every woman's needs and how we can work from there? I would say a structure is the key. We need to be very structured. I would say having, if I'm talking about my experience within the civil society, having civil society activists and civil society organizations work in specific fields and not be general. Because when being general, maybe you can, as you said, as a collective, touch a big community, but individually the impact will be a little bit smaller, or on a percentage that is not enough to change, or like just see it as a big change. So I would say to work very on a smaller scope, encourage the initiative that starts within the universities, like club universities. Those touch directly because people tend to know each other more.
They are more reachable.
Exactly. And also the community has something that is common between them. So like the factor of sharing the ideas, the same values, the same principles will help to spread and convince people of the change. And then then when it comes to the systematic change that we're having, I would also refer again to the stakeholders and the policies. I would say on a bigger scope, we cannot affect if there is no law backing us or there is no policies that we are like.
So we should be pushing for the laws and policies.
Definitely,
right.
Because that's the key. Because if I'm telling you it's my right, you cannot tell me how.
Show me the law.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I can claim that it's my right to be represented fairly in the parliament, but what is the law that tells me I need to be in the parliament?
Right.
And basically, we know that with no law, no one is obliged to do anything for you. So the key is reforms and definitely creating new policies, because Algeria has already policies, but they are not enough, or the amplification of those policies is not targeted to try and fight for the biases.
Exactly. That's actually a very smart way to look at it. I think I should ask you the key question that I ask all the inspiring women that I meet is, could you tell us about some women, historical or maybe contemporary, who have inspired you in one way or another?
I would say all Algerian women, historically, or the historical figures we have from all the fighters and mujahidat who were part of the revolution. I would say trying to quote from inspiring women, it's still something for me that I wouldn't do, because history is written by the people who are now winners. So I wouldn't really refer to a specific woman, but I would say I see a lot of women in my society now, doesn't have to be in the past, that are struggling and they make it eventually. I see a lot of politicians who are able to make it in a system or decision makers system that was not easy for them to be there. So I would say the aspiration comes within my community. I come from a very small village in Mila, and to be able to stand out and have a career and even finish school at a certain period of time was not easy. So I would say the women in my family were definitely a big inspiration for me.
That's amazing. So Surur, what role do men and boys play in supporting women's empowerment? I think you have worked with both genders during your initiatives, not just women. So what is maybe a way that we can include young boys and men with this fight to support women empowerment and equality within the workplace or the community?
So Sarah, the answer is very simple. Looking at it from the fact that women's right is human's right.
Right.
It's not just women's right. So by standing up or starting from this concept, we would include anyone, because we are not fighting for one gender anymore. We're I wouldn't agree with people who say minorities right. Women are not a minority. If talking about Algeria, the percentage of women surpasses the percentage of men. So how can that be a minority? And also using the term minority can like decrease the percentage of people working on it and just making it something that's not very interesting to work on. So I would want to be with the majority, as we say. So including men and boys, young boys, is crucial. We have a patriarchal system that was put there to believe the man, to go with the man, and by using the man, I'm talking about the patriarchal system that doesn't have to be a male figure. So we are following the norms that I'm talking about, the society of Algeria. So including them is very crucial. I can give you a very small example from history. So a lot of people would say, if you talk about a scientist in the past, who would comes into your mind? And people would say Maria Curie. And it's very famous because she was the only one standing out and getting 2 Nobel Prizes in 2 different fields. So people ask themselves why women didn't contribute to the scientific field as Maria Curie did. So if she could, why didn't you? It's basically very simple. Maria had a very supporting husband that every time
was also in the field.
Exactly. And every time she wanted to publish under his name, because he was a scientist as well, he would refuse, and he would go with her to the scientific conferences and convince the people there that her publication needs to be taken into consideration. So here I'm not saying that the existence of women's rights advocates is linked to having a male support. That's not true, but I would say including them will help us get to our goals faster.
That's certainly a new way of looking at it, but I think it could work when we condition these young men and these young boys to be able to maybe help other women in their field and work together. I think we could move from this area here. So what advice would you give maybe to the young women who want to start their own empowerment initiatives, just like Beyond Bias, and don't know the steps or maybe how to go about it?
Definitely, it's very hard. I'm not gonna pretend it's something that I was just waking up one day and be able to do. It took a lot of training that I had to attend several international trainings or national trainings, and you just need to believe that one day you will be able to do it. It's not impossible. It's not easy. No one is gonna pretend it's la vie en rose for us or life in pink. So what I would say is to work on your skills, know and have self-awareness. So you're not gonna be the project manager, the responsible for logistics and the responsible for getting participant and finding a place where to do. This is not, you're not a superwoman. You just need to accept help as well from people and create a network. The network is your key to create anything in this world, whether finding a job, start an initiative or anything in between. So definitely work on your network, work on your personal skills, work on your social media. As we were talking, having a good LinkedIn profile will definitely push you.
It can open doors for you, right?
Exactly. So even the smallest detail will help you create your own initiative, create your own organization, and why not get it to work with different NGOs that are international.
Exactly. So I think we have covered the initiative part of things, but I think we should talk about how do we ensure these initiatives that we have started. We have helped these young women launch their initiatives. How could we ensure that they make them inclusive and they cover all the diverse experiences that the women in Algeria or in Africa or on the international scale are facing? So they wouldn't be focusing on just a certain group of women who might have some certain privileges or that the others don't. How can we make it inclusive?
Exactly. So starting by decentralizing the initiatives. So I'm not proud to say I only did my initiatives here in Algiers due to lack of funding, lack of I would say legal authorizations or something like that. So I would say decentralizing the initiatives. If you are doing a project, why not doing it in the south? Why not doing it in the west? Why always Algiers as a capital? We know it's easier to find venues, easier to find participants, but by promoting the idea of doing everything in one city, in the bigger cities or the coastal cities like here in Algeria, it just makes it very, very, very tight for people to attend, especially with the financial restrictions they might have.
Travel expenses.
Exactly. So whether you open doors and get in charge or pay for the fees for accommodation and travel, or you can try and create a network in other cities and do whether like a simulation or do the actual initiative in other cities. I myself see it as a goal for me to do something in my city, Mila. We all come and live and study, for example, in the capital, but we all have origins from other cities. So I'm sure we have communities there, we have people to rely on, and we can do it. Everyone can take their ideas to their cities and start something there, and then you can bring it back to the capital to just make it more inclusive, because I would say Algiers is also a city where you can find diversity.
Right.
So you can include people, but it's also very, very
Shouldn't
restrictive.
be the only point.
Yeah,
where
it's very restrictive for people who cannot make it to the capital.
Algiers,
and also using technology and using online platforms to just include more people.
Speaking of inclusion, I think we should talk about gender, race, and class when it comes to the fight for women's rights or women empowerment, because it could be overlooked at times when we just focus about it being about women and we forget the race, we forget the class, we forget the education classes. Maybe this should be focused on more.
Definitely, because as we were saying, someone who is using LinkedIn and someone who's looking Facebook can be from different social classes, can be from different races. The accessibility to the French language here in Algeria is a big topic to talk about, because if you are posting and trying to do an awareness campaign using French, it's not accessible to all social classes or all educational classes. So it's something that we need to be very sensitive when it comes to this topic. Races here in Algeria, we have different ethnicities, we have different races, so having accessibility to the Amazigh language as well. There are some people who do not speak Arabic fluently, so we have to take into consideration this as well, trying to get sign language included. This when it comes to bigger scopes, a bigger initiative, when you are starting something small, it's very hard to be this inclusive, but we should not just take our accountability away from that. So this is as a start. When it comes to Algeria, as we we talked about before, we have to decentralize from Algiers and the bigger cities, coastal cities, and definitely when opening application forms for participants, you have to always have a certain percentage for people from special needs, people from different ethnicities, and definitely people who are from a social class that does not make them able to attend, and maybe offer some scholarships for those people.
That's amazing advice, and I hope everyone who's watching us and has initiative could maybe think about including these things. So Surur, before we conclude our talk for today, I would like to ask you to give out a piece of advice to all the young women watching you today, maybe a piece of advice that would have helped you early on in your career.
I would say something a person would have told me back in the times that would change the way of seeing things. It's basically everything has a right time. It's never too late to do anything, and it's never too early as well. So if you feel like you're capable to do something, go ahead. Don't have higher expectations. I believe having higher expectations or very high expectation is the problem, because we tend to make some mistakes, to fail as well, because we're humans, and to not let the societal pressure guide you. So I know we cannot detach from society or from our families, but sometimes it's a must. Working on yourself awareness and mental health as well, because if you are all the time anxious, unable to take decisions based on a fair and a stable mental state, you're definitely gonna make mistakes, which will allow you to make more mistakes in the future. So definitely take care of yourself, your mental state, always work on your personal skills, and never give up to pressure.
That's actually very valid advice. Thank you so much, Surur. Thank you for being our guest today.
Thank you so much, Sarah. It was a pleasure to be here, and can't wait to update you more on different projects.
Thank you. We wish you the best on all your future endeavors. Thank you everyone for watching us. See you in another episode.